Okay, hello and welcome everybody. This is our second session after lunch, so if you need to do jumping jacks or stretches to stay awake, I don't think that's going to be a problem in this particular session. So today we have Landis Technologies talking about Attendant Console and Contact Center, a little bit about Contact Center. So tell you what, do you have questions, particularly for anybody joining us online? For the people online, please raise your hand in the Teams meeting, and we will try and get your question answered as quickly as we can. We're going to save in-person questions, if possible, to the last couple of minutes to get the most out of our presentation time. And you can always, of course, go to the Landis booth and talk to them there. So take it away.
All right. Thank you. I'm Paul Martin with Landis Technologies. I know Matt Landis was originally on the agenda for this session, so if you showed up looking for Matt, I really apologize. So he was not able to make the conference here. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about Attendant Console and Contact Center of the future. So as we think about some of the things that we face as we're migrating to Teams, you may be in Teams already. What is our help desk going to look like? What is our reception desk going to look like? And we're going to talk a little bit about what we think the best approach is for that. So there's a few areas that you'll notice Microsoft doesn't fully address. Contact Center, help desk is one. There's some recording solutions that are too vague in Teams for some environments. And of course, there's the Attendant Console. And so these are the three products that Landis offers. We have solutions that kind of plug into Teams and address all of those. So we'll just talk about those three and kind of our approach and how we're taking care of those problems. So first of all, just to highlight some of our design vision for these products, what should these products look like? First and foremost for us is simplicity. It has to be simple. Especially when you talk about contact center, attendant consoles, they need to just plug into your Teams environment and start working for you. There shouldn't be any complicated routing scenarios that need to be established. It should plug into your Teams environment and deliver that. So it needs to be easy to set up, easy to purchase, and of course, easy for your end users to operate. Familiar look and feel is massively important as well. So it is not easy to train someone on a new platform, and it's expensive, it's time consuming. So we want it to feel like it's part of Teams. And in fact, our goal, and we'll show you what the product looks like, our goal is that the end user operates the product without realizing it. They should feel like they're just using the Teams application, and it should blend in to that. So familiar look and feel is very key. And then some other things, it needs to have the features that that they're in need of. So the Contact Center needs to have the queuing functionality. It needs to have the analytics to reports that Teams is missing. Reception needs to have that one-click transferring. So it needs to have all the features right there at their fingertips. And of course, because it's fitting into the Microsoft stack, it needs to be open and play well with other systems that the environment already has in place, utilizing Power Apps, Power BI, things like that. So there's a lot of flexibility there. And lastly, it needs to be a trusted platform that just works for you. Again, coming back to plugging into Teams, just working in your environment and utilizing Microsoft calling. Just lastly, before we move on, just the architecture and how the product is built, especially as we look to the future with things built into Teams more and more, we want to use Microsoft's APIs and have everything contained within Teams as much as possible. So you're familiar with Microsoft's terminology. They have the Power Extend, and they also have the Connect. We want to stay here on the Power Extend side of things, using their APIs, leaving all the calling within your Teams environment and not routing it out as would be necessary with a connected solution where call traffic routes through an outside service to achieve functionality and then sends calls back to Teams. If we can avoid that, it's just a lot easier to manage and deploy. So we keep things on the Power and Extend side of things. All right, so let's jump in. Attendant Console first. Obviously, this is a massive need in most environments that rely on some sort of live operator. First of all, you'll notice this is a platform that's built specifically for Teams from the ground up. So very Teams look and feel with the icons, the menus and everything. As I mentioned, that's massively important. It's a web application that can be run from anywhere. You literally just turn it on, the calls come into the Attendant Console, and they can easily operate and transfer those calls anywhere in the world they're located. And obviously the past 2 years have highlighted the need for that. Does not require, as I mentioned, any third-party routing, direct routing partner, anything like that. You can use calling plans, direct routing, whatever you have in place, it works well with that. So just to show you a little bit more how it fits in with the rest of the Microsoft environment. So whether it's the Teams client, devices, phone systems, it should be a natural part of that. And again, from the receptionist perspective, not needing to learn a new user interface, it's going to feel and look exactly like Teams, and it's going to be easy for them to adapt to. So just to highlight a few of the key areas for the Attendant Console, some of the things that we have as a standard part of the platform. One-click transferring is something that we hold it with high importance. When a call comes in, that receptionist should be able, with one click, to send it to where it needs to go. And that's often the frustration with Teams, and in the past it was Skype for Business. There's right click, there's drop down menus, there's multiple windows. They should be able to take a call with one click, send it to where it needs to go. So that's very important. And then just the ability to see their contacts in a list there, create their own favorites list, send calls to someone's cell phone or mobile phone, see their information. Are they available? Are they on vacation? Those types of things. So yeah, that's the less is more sometimes with a receptionist, being able to see the call activity right in front of them, easily direct the calls, see calls that are on hold, and be able to manage that call volume, and feel like even on hectic days when they have a lot of calls coming in, they can stay on top of that activity. Now, one thing I do want to highlight before we move on, the Attendant Console, and I know some of you have been tracking this product for the last couple of years. We've had Attendant Console for 6+ years, dating back to Link, then Skype for Business, and now, of course, Teams. As we're integrated into Microsoft, we're using their APIs. And unfortunately, they have been a little bit slow with completing those APIs. So as of right now, this product is not yet launched. We're working with Microsoft to encourage them to launch it as soon as possible. The product is developed, it's ready to go, and we're hoping that in the very near future, this will be live as a beta product, and you can start using it in your own environment. So I'm going to move on and just talk a little bit about Contact Center, but if you want to see a live demonstration of it, just stop to the booth outside here, and we'll show you what the Attendant Console looks like live in action. All right then, Contact Center. Unlike the Attendant Console, Contact Center uses a different set of APIs. This is a live product and something that is available to plug into your environment today. One of the things I just want to highlight on the architecture of Contact Center, because I think it's very important before we look at the look and feel of the product, is how this sits in your environment. Very easy to create a new contact center. So as your traffic comes in, doesn't matter whether it's direct routing, calling plans, PSTN, any source, it is pointed towards this Landis resource account that we have that sits within your phone system. That resource account then just communicates with the contact center services in Azure, and it then directs the APIs, telling them what to do, play this hold music, welcome message, sending the call through the right queue to the agents, all while it reports on the activity of that phone call. But from a calling perspective, you see the calls come in and they go straight to the agents. We're not taking that call activity out of your environment at any point. It's just that instantaneous signaling that goes to Azure to generate the reports and everything. So the architecture is very, very basic and very easy to put in place. What creating a new contact center looks like is creating a new instance of contact center in our service. Takes a few minutes, setting up a resource account, and within 15, 20 minutes, you can have calls coming into your Teams contact center. There's also the audio recording piece, which saves calls to your to Azure. You can have it save in our Azure, or you can save it straight to your own Azure as well. All right, so just to highlight the experience here, again, clean. Whoops, it keeps advancing there for some reason. Well, we'll touch on it later then, that's fine. As the agent takes calls, they have the ability to see things like CRM integration and just clean call controls. And again, these are just regular Teams calls, nothing out of the ordinary there, but they have the ability to see the CRM integration, whether that's Dynamics, Salesforce, or a whole plethora of other types of CRMs. When they finish calls, they can do things like wrap up questions and set their status and have a timeout screen before they're put back in the queue for the next incoming call. Manager screen, and this is the same for the agent screen. And as you'll notice here again, this is within the Teams client. There's just a application called Contact Center. Don't even have the Landis branding on this. It looks and feels like it's a feature that Teams is delivering for them. And of course, anywhere in the world where they can access Teams on any device, they have the ability to sign in and access the Contact Center as well. Managers now have the analytics and reports that they can launch into to see what's happening in the Contact Center, and things like live call monitoring, where they can see calls as they're in progress. They can see transcription of those calls. And not only that, they can see how the call is going. So we use cognitive services so that at a glance, a manager can see this call seems to be going well, or maybe this call isn't going so well. I should listen in or barge in and help out. So all the tools at their disposal to take care of that. And then various reports where they can see an overview of all the queues, their agents that they have signed in. They can add and remove agents from queues at their leisure. And so it just gives them a handle of the live activity and staying on top of that. And then the reporting that Teams is missing for the contact center. So things like queue status and showing what the call volumes look like across the various queues. Being able to see a list of all your agents and what their activity is like. Who's been busy, who's been taking a lot of calls, who's been slacking off, who's been missing. You can see all the breakdown for the agents there. Other things like what time of day do we miss the most calls? What time of day do we see the most abandoned calls? Or what time of day are we busiest? You can see those breakdowns. Simple wallboards that show what's happening right now. What's the longest waiting queue? How many calls do we have connected? How many calls are waiting? And so on. So just to come back around, just a few other things that I'll just point out briefly here before we take questions. So one of the other, a few of the other features that are included within Contact Center are skills-based routing. That's often an important one. We have that built in. The ability to offer callback to callers in queues so they don't have to wait on the line. Live call monitoring, we talked about that. And one of the things that we are announcing this week here at the show is EMEA Azure Data Center is being launched in Amsterdam here within the next month or two. So currently our data center is in the US and we're expanding that globally, and Amsterdam is next up. The other thing I just wanted to mention, Contact Center and Attendant Console often take a lot of the spotlight. We do have the policy call recording solution that is its own piece of software as well. So you can enable that for any Contact Center user. It's its own solution that any Teams user in your environment can be assigned a good policy recording solution where you can do on demand, you can do start-stop recording, and just a nice central management for those recordings. All right, just a 15-minute session. We're getting there. Was there any questions from online that we should be addressing?
So just to say, anybody for the online Teams meeting, go ahead and raise your hand. You can be unmuted, unmute yourself, and then you can answer your question. What about in person? Does anybody here have
any questions? Go ahead.
What does that look like for having other forms of media, i.e. email, web chat, etc.?
Yes. Active development work is already in progress for things like web chat. I think that's the first one that's coming for multi-channel in the near future. And then email is close behind that. So we're already well underway. We don't have exact dates, but that's coming very soon.
Thank you. Next 12 months?
I would say so, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, right behind you. Just toss them back there.
Thank you. Would you be able to go back to the slide with sentiment, please? Thank you. Is that an agent selection, or is that an AI behind analytics observing the call? And
yeah, this is a call that's in progress. We can see which agent's on the call, and it's using Microsoft's cognitive services. That's the service that is transcribing and giving the scores for those transcriptions.
Okay. Yeah. And how did you input the keywords that you're looking for in your agent?
That's a feature that is coming soon. At this moment, we're just using Microsoft's algorithm for what they determine as positive and negative. One of the features that we're going to build out this because it's very helpful for a lot of managers, and one of those is adding keywords so that you can flag certain words or mark them as approved or whatever you need to do.
Absolutely, make it more relevant for the business.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. What about adjusting the CLI on the outgoing calls for the agents, like serving multiple queues, and when they are calling out the customer, they would like to choose what will be the CLI for that outgoing call towards the customer?
So at the moment, that wouldn't be part of our contact center settings. I believe there's some functionality in Teams for monitoring, setting that outgoing line, but at the moment, that wouldn't be part of the contact center piece.
And it's available?
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep. This is a GA product, and we do offer free proof of concept. As you saw, creating a new contact center is extremely easy. I send you a link. A few minutes later, you can have it set up and running. So if you're interested in trying it out in your environment, please let us know, and we'd be happy to get you a copy.
And that's going to about cover it for time for us. Thank you all for coming, and a big round of applause for Landis.
Thank you.